Alrighty, so some of you already have your kits, and I know you've looked. Some of you got them this morning, so you maybe haven't. They are sending them to me in 3 installments. This is installment number 1. Okay, so you have 4 blocks worth in there. If you haven't had a chance to look, there is a warm and a cool of each block. Okay, and there are multiple, I think there are 4 fabrics in this one for each colorway. Okay, so you'll be making, there are 9 different blocks, so you'll be making 18 different blocks by the end of September. And then October we'll be putting the whole thing together and doing that pieced background. There are no Y seams in this quilt, according to the instructions, so I'm going to believe them on that, okay? There are templates in, there are 2 little booklets in your pattern, as well as a different pattern for each month. This one is just basic techniques, this one is finishing. So you can just sort of set that one aside for a little while, and then you'll have this one to refer to. I believe, yeah, this one has templates in it if you want to make templates for this. Okay, however, Jaybird does have 2 rulers that we will use pretty much all year. Hex and More is the one we're going to use today. The Sidekick ruler is the other one, and I know we use it next month. Okay, so the ruler has instructions that go with it as well. And there, as it says, hex and more, so there is more than one shape. There is a hexagon on here. There is this triangle, which is right up here. And then there are parallelograms, which are, they are right here. Yes?
They're trapezoid.
Trapezoids. Thank you. Either way, that shape is on here as well, okay? So, I went ahead and made one. What is different with her instructions is she wants you to press all of your seams open. It helps make things lay a little bit flatter, aids when you're matching things up. It worked well. I did do a finger press first before I hit it with the iron, and that helped get the seam open. Rather than trying to open it with the point of the iron, I opened it up first. You want to press, not push, okay? So, and I'll use this in just a minute. If you're not familiar with the Steady Betty, who's never heard of this? Okay. It grips your fabric so it won't move. So if you end up pushing, the fabric doesn't push. Okay, it kind of makes you press. It is a good pressing tool, and I use it a lot, and I used it on this. You will end up with some bias on the outside edge. So pressing is important as opposed to ironing, because you may end up stretching your bias, which you don't want to do. Okay? And you're going to end up with a diamond on each one of these. Okay? So you're starting off using 2.5-inch strips, and I stacked my fabrics by color, okay, and went ahead and cut 2.5s. You have fat 8s in here, and of course, this is the one thing I don't have, is my rotary cutter. Okay, so for those of you who have never taken a class from me before, I am left-handed, okay? So how you are looking at it from your perspective is how it should be, okay? Don't try to reverse anything, because if you do, then you're going to be trying to cut left-handed, and it doesn't work for right-handed people, okay? So I like to use my shape cut. It let me go ahead and cut 3 strips of each one. There's a slot every 1/2 inch. So I'm going to just cut at 2.5, and I would go 5, 7.5, and I would have my strips, okay? And you have 3 solids and 1 print, okay? The print is actually going to be the triangle, and I'm gonna say it's more the background, where the trapezoids are the pattern, okay? So, as far as cutting, everything is cut from that those 2.5 inch strips. So, to do your triangles, you're gonna set the 2.5 inch line right on the outside edge. It's blunted at the top, so you're not gonna have to worry about things extending past. She's really thought these rulers out so that when you're sewing, you're actually lining a straight edge to a straight edge. So.
And with your strip folded?
Yes,
Okay.
because
So you need more
it's
than one?
fine.
Okay.
They're symmetrical, okay? So I would cut up, and if you have a rotating mat, that can help a lot also, but coming back around is not necessarily a problem. Press hard.
Oh, you're doing it backwards, so.
Yes. And then I am gonna flip that strip around. And then I would be to the outside of the strip, going back and forth, okay? You need, I believe, 18
Oh, yeah, 'cause
of
those are all
these.
there.
Okay, it's gonna tell you in the instructions, I believe it's 18. And then it is 6 for each of
18.
these, so that you have 18 and 18. And to do the other piece, you're gonna notice there's a blunt that happens on the end here. So with your first cut, again, if you put, we're doing a 4.5, so that 4.5 inch line is gonna be on the outside edge, and this would be a longer strip to begin with. Okay, I'm gonna cut, this edge is gonna be on the outside, I'm gonna cut up, and I'm gonna cut over, like so, all right? Then I'm actually gonna flip this guy over and flip it over, not flip it that way. And I'm gonna line up the 4.5 inch here, and then I can cut and cut, okay? And you would be flipping back and forth, but you may have to flip the strip set over in order to do it, but you're gonna have a blunt edge here, okay? When you get ready to sew these, basically your trapezoids are your solids, your triangles are gonna be your prints, okay? Or your print. And once I got everything cut, even though I had them stacked, and I didn't have the same color necessarily stacked, I separated my colors so I had everything together. If you look at your diagram, if you bought the pattern, or if you brought the pattern with you, it will line up where you have this piece sewing to this piece here, like that, okay? When you sew, when you put it right sides together, you will notice that the blunt edge matches the straight edge up here, and you're just gonna have a little bit hanging past on this end, okay? You wanna work with a scant 1/4 inch, which on this machine is 5.88 millimeters from the outside edge of the J foot. Or you can use your 1/4 inch foot, okay? And with these, I'll pass this so you can look at it. You'll notice she suggests that you press your seams open, okay, which is not what we typically do. We typically go to one side. But it helps it lay flatter, helps it end up being more the right size. However, when you press open, you can tend to see the color of the thread, okay? So when I was sewing this one, I used a blue. When I'm sewing these, I'm gonna use a coral, so that when I press open, I'm not seeing it. A gray would work with this as well, but I think because we have warm and cool, I would have a warm color for these guys and a cool color for these. Does that make sense? Just so you don't have that, if when you're pressing it spreads, you're not gonna see the color of the thread. That's typically why we press to one side, okay? You are also going to have bias edges on the outside of this. So be careful, press, don't use steam, don't push, okay? I'm going to go ahead and pass. Once you get these blocks done, I would set them aside and don't handle them, okay? So that you don't have to worry about them stretching. If they do, I have ways to fix it. So don't go, oh my gosh, because when you start sewing those diamonds together, it's gonna poke in the middle if they've stretched. And I know how to fix that, but it's a whole lot easier if you don't have to. So I would actually chain feed all 18 of these guys together, but I'm gonna go ahead and do a few of these.
Did we get our kit at the front
Yep.
desk?
Yep,
Okay.
you do. Okay, so because we do have bias on this outside edge, and because she's telling us to press things open, I went ahead and kind of started my seam open with finger pressing first, so that I wasn't opening the seam with my, the tip of my iron and pushing. I could then really press it.
I did the journey to
Mhm.
this, and they actually recommended, you know, those little rollers? That's how she did a lot of her open seams.
Was it?
As she was stitching this, and then she pressed it at the end of the blocks.
Okay.
That was in the journey to Nebula.
So that would certainly work also.
Did you finish it?
All of them? Yep. I made like 4 pillows, a couple table runners, and then a bunch of baby quilts for my granddaughter. She said, I don't have quilts for my babies.
How cute is that?
Right? So what do you do?
Okay, I would also use scissors when I cut these apart, because, you know, the last thing you want to do is accidentally nick something. You know, normally I say these aren't going to be anything, but this actually is. This is my warm color block. Okay, so I would start off, again, you could use the roller.
But you still need to start with.
You've got to start it, and I also use a Steady Betty because your fabric can't move on that. It makes you press. So I have that, and it's been sitting for a little bit. It turned itself off, and of course, okay, so you're going to press those open with a hot iron, okay? And
later. That's cool.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and finger press another one.
Very cool.
And then when you're doing your rows,
Pretty color.
and I'm sorry, I always have to look at the picture here. She actually has really good diagrams. This is how the block sews how these guys sew together. And then if you lay the row out, and I just want to be sure I've got it correct. These are going to sew together this way. And you'll have 6 going down that are going to make a row, okay? And let me go ahead and finger press this guy. I didn't get any further with the first row because my seam allowance was too wide. And I forgot that I showed somebody how to do that the other day. You know how that is. Okay, so there and there. Actually, it sews like so. Yes. And again, you're blunt and you have a point down here. Okay? So, And you don't have to match anything when you're sewing these guys together, okay?
So there's always a pointed edge at the end,
Yes,
seems like.
but you always have a straight edge to fit to a straight edge as well. And again, you would make 3 of these, okay? And this is gonna press this way, and you would press this guy open. And then you're gonna sew those together into a row. And if I could have that back. Sherry, what's sitting on the floor by you, the block? If I could have the block back, the blue block?
Sure. I'm kind of dense.
It's all right. Okay, so, once you have all 3 rows, they really are going light, medium, dark, okay? And you need to match here and here, here and here, okay? And it's not that the seams oppose each other, because they don't. I mean, they are open, but because this is also a diagonal, they don't just automatically kind of lock into each other. You're gonna have to, what I do when I do these is I take a pin at 1/4 inch and stick it through to the 1/4 inch on the other side, or where the seams cross, before I sew the seam, so that it matches. I didn't on the first one, and half of them did and half of them didn't, so then I had to go back and fiddle. So rather than have to go back and fiddle, I'm just gonna tell you, go ahead and pin those. You know, most of the time we think, oh, you know, I can sew that, I don't need to pin it. But if you will pin those intersections, you won't have to go back and rip out and fiddle, okay? Does that make sense? So you're gonna make 2 diamonds each month, 1 warm, 1 cool, okay? We are recording it. Amanda's got two cameras set up. It will get posted on our YouTube channel, which I think, but ask her to be sure. I believe it's the fig leaf. Could be the fig leaf quilting. We've had it for a long time. We hardly ever put anything up on it. But there will be more stuff obviously going up on it. I can't live stream this because we don't have 1,000 subscribers. And you have to have 1,000 subscribers to a YouTube channel in order to live stream. Okay. And it's just as well I didn't say we were gonna Facebook it this morning, because our internet was down and it wouldn't have worked. But our internet is back up, so Amanda, I'm sure will get this up on YouTube this afternoon. So if you forget what I said, or you know, just need to hear it again, it will be there. I'm not here on Thursdays. I am here the rest of the time. We're not open on Sunday anymore. So if you have questions, need help with it, don't hesitate, because I don't want you to sit at home and take my name in vain, because it's not working for you, okay? Sometimes it could just be something got cut a little bit funny, or you just need somebody to lay the 2 pieces down and say, this is how you need to sew it together. I'm happy to do that.
It is the fig leaf quilting.
Thank you.